Deep in the murky forests, there was a strange and foreign land. This land and its inhabitants would be the bane of the Romans. The Romans would try desperately to conquer and stamp out these people, to no avail. This is the history of ancient Germany. Germany has been inhabited by various people for centuries. The many early people who roamed the land were nothing short of artists, creating fine ivory sculptures as well as several flutes. These flutes are believed to be the oldest musical instruments ever found. People continue to move around, with the Great Forest of Germany being prime hunting grounds. The first of these migrating people to settle down seems to have been a group from Western Anatolia between 10,000 and 8,000 years ago. Over the next few thousand years, countless cultures would come and go, passing through Germany and occasionally settling in the region. These people came from all over the world, with some of the more travelled settlers coming from Iran. It was around this time that Germanic tribes, faced with the ever-changing climate that was Denmark, began to migrate southwards, eventually settling in the northern section of the region. That, with the Celts having already previously settled in the region, led to a mishmash of cultures as a sort of Germanic identity began to form. It was also around this time that the people of Germany began to be exposed to the rest of the world. Gradually, trade was being established along the ancient Celtic roads, with one Celtic settlement in the Danube becoming a hub of commerce. By 700 BC, the Germans in the north gradually expanded southwards, overtaking the Celts as the dominant culture in Germany. The problem now arose that in the north the climate was still temperamental. As a result, many tribes began to migrate, looking for richer and more fertile lands. This resulted in several tribes making their way to the newly established Roman border. Led by the Cimbri, these tribes would ravage Roman lands for years before eventually being defeated. This was the beginning of a series of conflicts between the Romans and the Germans. When Caesar invaded Gaul, he was one of the first Romans to cross over the Rhine and explore the land he called Germania, a name the local Gauls called the region. Further Roman expansion would follow, with the general Drusus making huge exploratory campaigns into the region. After many years, Rome began to view the Germans as a conquered people and began to impose taxes on them. This resulted in a mass rebellion, which saw a huge Roman army destroyed at the Battle of Teutoburg Forest. Rome would pull out of Germany temporarily, establishing a firm border on the River Rhine between them and the Germans. Things would never be peaceful between the two peoples. Several German tribes decided to migrate to the Balkans. These included the offshoots of the Germanic tribes known as the Goths. These, along with their neighbours, the Alans, were uprooted and sent hurtling towards the now fractured Roman Empire by the invading Huns. Eventually, an alliance between the Germans and Romans in modern-day France defeated the Huns. However, the damage was already done. These uprooted Germans quickly settled in these new lands in the west. This was often uncontested, as the Romans had hired them as warriors in their armies. The payment was land. When the western part of the empire ran out of land, they refused to pay these Germans, resulting in not one but several sackings of Rome by various Germanic tribes. Raids were not limited to Italy, with various Germanic groups setting sail and ravaging the lands of France and England. The Franks invaded the region known as Gaul and formed a mighty empire in the process, whilst the Angles and Saxons all collectively invaded Britain, which they called the lands of the Angles or Angleland. Eventually, this influx of Germanic hordes resulted in the collapse of the western portion of the Roman Empire and the foundation of several Germanic kingdoms in its place. During this time, Germania had been overrun by the aforementioned Huns. The Huns were never a proper empire, and it pretty much fell apart after their chief Attila died from a nosebleed. With the collapse of the Hunnic Empire, Germany fractured into various tribal states, all of which would eventually be unified by the powerful Frankish Empire centuries later. Thank you for watching and listening to our videos. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe if you've enjoyed. All sources are listed and linked in the description below. I've been the Ancient History Guy, and as always, I'll be seeing you later.